in the heart of ancient Athens, as the sun rises over marble streets, a golden light illuminates a city that once stood as the beacon of democracy, philosophy, and reason. But on this morning, the beauty is a mask. Tension hangs heavy in the air. Athens is wounded, uncertain, and afraid. The long, draining Peloponnesian War has finally ended, but not in victory. Sparta has triumphed, humiliating the once proud city-state. The democracy, its greatest invention, is shaken to its core, and when a city is in pain, it searches for someone to blame. In this fragile world, an old man wanders the streets, a familiar and strange presence. He's barefoot, his clothes are plain, and he has no wealth, no title, and has never written a single book. Yet, his name is known to everyone. Socrates. For decades, he has walked these very streets, not lecturing, but questioning. His questions unsettle the powerful, confuse the proud, and awaken the minds of the young. He famously claims to know nothing, yet his method masterfully exposes the ignorance of those who claim to know everything. He mocks the self-important, dismantles flimsy arguments with ease, and refuses to flatter anyone, no matter their status. To some, he is the wisest man in Athens. To others, he is the most dangerous. On a warm morning in the year 399 BC, a rumor ripples through the agora, the bustling heart of the city. Socrates has been formally charged with a crime. The charge is impiety and corrupting the youth. At first, many laugh it off. How could this harmless, eccentric old man possibly be a criminal? But beneath the laughter, a current of fear runs deep. Athens is desperate for order and stability. Socrates, with his relentless questioning, is an inconvenient, living reminder of the city's flaws and uncertainties. The accusations are brought forward by three men: Meletus, a poet; Anytus, a powerful politician; and Lycon, an orator. They represent the voice of a city that is tired of doubt and ready to silence it. Yet, Socrates shows no fear. He walks calmly toward the court, a crowd swirling around him. There are his supporters, his many critics, and countless others drawn by the sheer spectacle of it all. The court of Athens isn't some closed-off room. It's a vast, open-air assembly of hundreds of male citizens, all serving as judge and jury. As Socrates steps forward, the sun gleams on his bald head. His eyes, though tired, are sharp and clear as he surveys the sea of faces before him. He knows that most of them have already made up their minds. They want him gone, but he refuses to play their game. He has prepared no dramatic speech. He will not beg for mercy. He will do what he has always done: speak the truth, even if it costs him his life. Meletus stands and formally presents the charges. First, Socrates does not believe in the gods of the city. Second, he introduces new, strange divine beings. And third, he corrupts the youth, teaching them to question authority and disrespect their elders. A murmur spreads through the crowd. Some jurors nod in grim approval. Others look uneasy. Then it is Socrates' turn. He begins his defense, not with anger or desperation, but with his signature tool: questions. He turns to his main accuser, Meletus. "Tell me," Socrates asks, "how could I possibly corrupt the youth intentionally? For if I make them wicked, they might one day harm me, and surely no man would willingly bring harm upon himself." Meletus is stumped, unable to form a coherent answer. Socrates presses on. "You accuse me of introducing new gods, and you also accuse me of being an atheist. How can I be guilty of both? If I believe in new gods, then I must believe in gods of some kind. How can a man who believes in gods be an atheist?" The logic is like a razor, slicing through the flimsy accusations. But this trial isn't really about logic. The jury isn't seeking truth, they're seeking a scapegoat. And Socrates, the embodiment of intellectual disorder, is the perfect candidate. He tells the jury about his divine mission, the inner voice is daemonian, that has guided him his entire life, always warning him away from doing wrong. He reminds them he has never charged a fee for his conversations, unlike the sophists who sell wisdom for a price. He has questioned everyone: generals, poets, politicians not to humiliate them, but to help them, and himself recognize the limits of their own knowledge. And then he delivers the line that will echo through history. The unexamined life is not worth living. Some in the crowd are moved, inspired by his courage, but many more are irritated. His refusal to flatter the jury, his calm intellectual superiority, it feels like arrogance. He won't cry, or bring his weeping wife and children before them to beg for his life, as was common practice. To Socrates, virtue is more important than life itself, and begging would be a betrayal of everything he stands for. The time for the verdict arrives. The jury casts its votes. The crowd watches in hushed silence. By a narrow margin, Socrates is found guilty. Now comes the strangest part of Athenian law. The convicted man must propose his own punishment. The jury will then choose between the prosecution's penalty and the defendant's counter-proposal. This is Socrates' chance to save himself. He could suggest exile, and they would likely accept. He could suggest a fine, or even just promise to be silent. Instead, with a calm, almost playful smile, Socrates suggests his punishment should be a reward. He proposes that he be fed for life at the Prytaneum, the sacred hall reserved for Olympic heroes and public benefactors. For his service to the city, he argues, this is what he truly deserves. A wave of shock and anger washes over the jury. Some gasp. Others laugh in disbelief. This isn't just defiance, it's mockery. They see it as the ultimate act of arrogance. The second vote is for the penalty. This time, the margin is much wider. The jury sentenced Socrates to death by poison. His followers, who had held on to a sliver of hope, break down in tears. His student, Plato, watches in helpless agony. But the old philosopher himself remains perfectly calm, completely unmoved. As fate would have it, Athens must delay the execution for 30 days. The sacred ship is on a religious mission to the island of Delos, and no executions can be carried out until it returns. During this month, Socrates' prison cell becomes his final classroom. His friends, desperate, beg him to escape. Crito, his wealthy, lifelong friend, has everything arranged. Guards have been bribed. Escape routes planned. A ship is waiting. But Socrates refuses. He explains that fleeing would be an act of injustice against the laws of Athens, the very laws he has lived under and respected his entire life. To run now would be to betray his own principles. He tells them it is better to suffer an injustice than to commit one. A man must stand by what he believes is right, even when the price is death. And so, day after day, he sits with his students, discussing virtue, the nature of the soul, justice, and the afterlife. His final days become philosophy's greatest and most poignant lessons. At last, the sacred ship is spotted on the horizon. The day of execution has arrived. His friends and followers gather around him, their faces etched with despair. The jailer, a man who has grown to respect and admire his prisoner, enters with a small cup filled with a dark liquid hemlock. His voice is thick with emotion as he tells Socrates what he must do. Socrates takes the cup without hesitation, as if accepting a final, welcome drink. He gently chides his weeping friends. "Why do you cry?" he asks. "You act as if some great harm is befalling me. But you must know, no evil can happen to a good man, either in life or in death." He raises the cup to his lips and drinks it all. Slowly, a numbness begins to creep up from his feet. It spreads to his legs, then his chest. He lies down as the cold climbs higher. In his final moments, recorded for all time by Plato, Socrates speaks his last words, soft and cryptic. "Crito, we owe a rooster to us. Please, don't forget to pay the debt." An offering of thanks to the god of healing. For Socrates, death was not an end, but it cured the final healing of the soul from the sickness of the body. A few moments later, the wisest man in Athens lay still. A city that celebrated reason had, in a moment of fear, killed wisdom itself. In the years that followed, Athens was said to have deeply regretted its actions. But the lesson was forever burned into history. A warning that even the greatest democracy can be poisoned by fear and ignorance. Socrates left behind no books, no buildings, no monuments of stone. He left only a legacy of questions, a life dedicated to the relentless pursuit of virtue, and the courage to challenge the comfortable lies we tell ourselves. His death did not silence him. It made him immortal. And today, thousands of years later, we still wrestle with his ideas. We still ask his questions, and we remember that in a world full of noise, the most powerful weapon can still be the simple, honest truth. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as powerful as we do, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss our next journey into history.